This is our first look at the new Shimano CUES. Now this is the 11-speed version, and it looks like the cranks are very similar to the old XTR with the preload adjuster on one side and a slightly different spline configuration as well. The shifters look robust, well built, and big, but they look well built. And to be honest, the rear mech is almost a carbon copy of a Shimano Dior rear derailleur. First look looks pretty good. Let's see what else there is. This is some footage from a trade show called IceBike here in the UK. It's a trade show run by Madison, who are the UK importers of Shimano. So it was our first chance to see Shimano CUES, sort of hands-on and up close, and it was pretty exciting. I've got loads of footage to show you, but we went down to the National Cycling Centre with myself and Jake got really carried away with all the cool features to ride at the National Cycling Centre.
Ooh, there's the one. Yo, yes!
Oh god! Sure we get told off for this, surely?
Nah.
Oh.
It's National Cycling Centre. This is what it was made for.
Oh, the wind! Oh, oh, the drop's massive. Ah! Oh.
Fine landing.
Well, that's nearly 5 foot.
But other than that, the show was pretty subdued. There's a really low vibe, which is unusual because normally these shows are full of sales reps, you know, revved up on coffee and pep talks, and it really wasn't the case at all. It was very sort of low-key, quite a quiet show. There's sort of an air of concern around, and there were some talks going on, and there's some interesting stuff which I'll get through in the video. But for now, I want to flip back to the Shimano CUES and show you it actually mounted to a bike. So interestingly, this is also an 11-speed CUES, but now it's sort of finished, not quite Ultegra, sort of gunmetal grey, it's got a slightly different shade to it, but it's definitely got an anodised finish to it. And interestingly, these larger chain rings, they actually have the traditional Holotech sort of clamp mechanism that you'll recognise. It hasn't got that preload bolt on these ones. But that tooth profile on the Linkglide is obviously different, and that carries throughout the range. And again, this looks like a carbon copy of a Shimano Dior rear mech, just with that sort of darker gunmetal grey finish. It looks really nice. I can see this working on almost any type of bike. And here's the thing, that is really what Shimano CUES has been designed for. It has been designed for every type of bike. And you're going to be starting to see this initially on pretty much any bike that's not got a top-end group set, which now includes 105 Ultegra Dura Ace, is pretty much all going to be Shimano CUES. And there's a real need for this unification of some standards. It's a single chain that goes across the range using that Linkglide system for extra durability, same pull ratios, all that sort of thing, free hub compatibility. It's like, hallelujah, we're definitely going towards that. But it is going to, I think, cement Shimano's monopoly of this mass market drivetrain. I don't think anyone's even got a look in. Campagnola gave up on this market a long time ago. SRAM seem to have forgotten all about it and haven't updated things like Apex and stuff like that, and then mechanical 2x for a long, long time. So this really is a wide open door for Shimano. I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch them for a long, long time. But the brake calipers here look absolutely identical to the current Dior model. Just, I hope you can see on this, a slightly darker, more bluish colour finishing. You're going to start seeing this actually attached to bikes that you're buying in the shops pretty soon, to be honest. But the Shimano reps don't think there's going to be any sort of spare part availability or able to buy a group set probably until the middle of the summer. And I don't think we're going to see an announcement about, you know, Claris, Sora, Tiagra for quite a long time yet either, which is, yeah, baffles me a little bit, because right now you can't buy a Tiagra group set. They are absolutely out of stock, and that is pretty telling sign really that there's some changes coming. The 105 mechanical, the current 11-speed, is now cheaper than 9-speed Sora in many cases. So there is definitely something going on with the whole trying to move inventory before they make a big announcement. I get that impression. But and yeah, I think it's going to get, you know, welcomed with open arms. I think this is a really needed group set. Not even in the current climate. I just think it is just needed to do some unification because we get these customers all the time, which, you know, they brought a bike at a great value, but now they want to upgrade, but the upgrade takes them to a different, you know, compatibility path and that sort of thing. I think this is just a great way of being able to change gear ratios without having to change, you know, fundamentally the whole parts of the bike. So yeah, I'm personally, you know, I got called a shrill in one of my previous videos for the industry. Like, so be it. I think we should applaud stuff like this when we see it, because I think this is Shimano doing something, you know, long overdue. We needed to try and simplify the whole compatibility issues, give people an upgrade path, give, you know, people who are getting into cycling for commuting and everything else, something that looks really smart, is going to be affordable. Although I have to say, everyone was very coy on prices. They just don't know yet. I don't think there's any sort of, it's going to be higher than expected. I just don't honestly think that they know, because, you know, it's been swallowed up by OEM for now. So yeah, I you know, as much as people are going to put in the comments that LT Woo and Sensor, they haven't got a touch on this at all, really. I think this is cemented, you know, the next decade of dominance from the big Shimano. Right, anyway, back to the show.
This is it. This is the elusive cutter I've been waiting absolutely years for. It's not a unicorn, it does actually exist. New slide hammers here from Park. Two-piece design, which is a little bit inconvenient, but all the right collet sizes we want. And also, there's like a pivot bearing removal tool as well. This is all a bit glued down and you can't quite see, but these are all the right size cups and pullers. It's kind of about time really that Park did one of these.
Yeah, Park Tool had a really big stand at the show. In fact, they'd gone all out. They'd actually got Calvin Jones flown in and over from the US, and we went up, said hello, shook his hand. He didn't know who we were, but it was nice to meet him anyway. But we did get a good chance to speak to the Park Tool rep, and it was good. He didn't really have anything new to show us. There's a couple of new bits and pieces, but we asked him a few questions, which I think you guys would be interested in. One was their bleed kits, because their bleed kits, whenever we've had one, they've just leaked everywhere. They acknowledged that there was a problem with them. I asked, you know, have you fixed it yet? I kind of got this really weird muted response, like, yeah, I think so, we should have done. Wasn't really that reassured by it, but, you know, you guys let me know how you get on with your bleed kits if you've picked one up. We also asked about their bottom bracket tools. If you remember, we've talked about these on the channel a fair bit, and I said, you know, these aren't really up to workshop standard. He acknowledged that, and, you know, I said, you know, you make really good stuff. You know, this is one of the e-bike lock ring tools. You know, this is made out of proper tool steel. This is a really good quality tool. And I said, why don't you make these out of this? And he said that they're working on it. They acknowledge that this is definitely more geared towards a consumer level home mechanic tool, and that, you know, it's not really up for, you know, workshop use, whereas these are, and they are looking to making these out of this quality material. So that was really good news, and I'm looking forward to seeing those, because that is something that's been really overdue. Talking of things that have been overdue, the pivot bearing sort of kit and their push fit bottom bracket extraction tool, which has been massively overdue, was at the show. I got a chance to see it. The extraction kit looks a lot like the Wheels manufacturing one, but probably a little bit more refined. Weird that they sort of finally brought it out just as press fit is starting to see its twilight days, maybe. The pivot bearing kit looks really good. There's not really many people doing something like this. We've got some kits here sort of made up of various kits and various brands. It was nice to see one all together. I don't think it's any better than what we've got, but it's definitely more concise. So that was quite nice. The cutting tools, I've been told that cutting tools are going to be shipping again sometimes towards the late summer. That's a really long time to wait for cutting tools, you know, because they are such an essential part of what a bike shop does. But, you know, no one else really makes them, or if they do, they don't bring them into the UK. So that was frustrating. We also got to meet some fans of the show, which is super cool. So a shout out to Jim from Appleby Cycle Works. He came up to us and said hello. They're not actually that far away from us, but they've got this cool sort of setup for teaching mechanics. That was nice to see you. So hey, Jim. Also, Jules from the Shimano tech team. We had a good chat with Jules. He's been watching the show, which is nice. And we asked about, you know, becoming a Shimano tech center. And, you know, it might be on the cards in the future. They're prioritizing trying to roll it out into like the really big shops, and that's like where they really need that sort of training. But you know, it's nice to be on the horizon. It'd be nice to just have the kudos of being a Shimano technical centre. And yeah, Simon from Cycling Industry News, it's so good to meet him in person. We sat down and did a Zoom interview with Simon a little while ago, and there's like a 4-page article in Cycling Industry News coming out imminently. I'll put the links sort of to the e-publication down below so you can see. We're right on the back, page 54. Just a few pages ahead of the CEO of Giant UK, sort of giving his spin on, you know, Giant going consumer direct, is quite interesting. And yeah, there we go. The only other thing that was interesting in the show, I have to say, was from Empire Wheels. Now, Empire is like a little sideline business, but they sort of specialised in building those sort of wheels where they're just everywhere, you know, like Shimano hubs, Mavic rims, you know, the Open Pros, the CXPs, Shimano Dior hubs, Tiagra hubs, that sort of thing, built on straight DT Swiss spokes. But they were selling wheels for cheaper than we could probably buy the spokes for. And it was amazing. They had a whole video there showing you how the wheel building process was happening and how they were managing to get their prices down. And they're now going to start actually fitting tyres and tubes as well. So for bike shops in really busy city centres who just have jobs where they just need to get people back on their bikes and get into work, I mean, they could get a wheel out of a box, fit it to a bike, get their customer riding again. But this is the mainstay of cycling sort of skill, if you like, is building the wheel. This is where wheel builders, you know, get their experience, and now it's just cheaper just to get it built by a machine and get it shipped, next day delivery, fitted, done, or even hold a few in stock. So I was kind of blown away by the whole thing, really. But at the same time, it was a bit like, you know, if you're learning that wheel building training in a cycling shop, you're not really seeing the volume of wheel builds to really hone and perfect your skills, you know, before you know, really start working on the really elite sort of carbon rims and that sort of thing. So it was kind of, wow, amazing. I can't believe that, you know, I can buy 5 sets of wheels for like cheaper than it would cost me to buy 160 spokes to build those 5 sets of wheels. There we go. That's a sign of the times, I guess. Anyway, I hope this video was somewhat useful. As always, really looking forward to seeing your comments. I love reading them. I learned so much from you guys. I hope that I can impart some of that knowledge back again. So until the next one, take it easy. Talking of which, the next one is going to be my review of the Look 765, which I've been absolutely loving, and I can't wait to get down. I've been making some notes, and I really want to make sure I get the message across on that. So yeah, take it easy, everyone.